Welcome to Sadbound's podcast. I'm John Luck with Mary Evers, and, well, we took a week off, and what happened?
I think we took 2 weeks off.
Okay, we took time off, and what happened? The Red Sox fell apart, and Cam Newton doesn't have a job.
Well, no, the Red Sox were definitely in a steep decline the last time we did an episode, because I'm pretty sure our last episode was called The Red Sox Rocky Start to August or something like that.
Well, we had the rocky start to August, and we have the debacle
of September. Yeah. It's not looking good for the Red Sox, that's for sure.
Sorry, wake them up when September ends. Let's start off with Cam Newton, though, who got released by the New England Patriots. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, but this came as a shock to some people. And to me, I think the biggest shock is the fact that Newton started all 3 preseason games.
Right.
Yet Mac Jones comes in with all the 2s and the 3s. He looks better.
Yeah.
He's a better teammate, I think, just from what I've seen on the field. And overall, I think this is the right decision to have Mac Jones be the Week 1 starter against the Miami Dolphins.
I mean, I don't think I would go as far as to say he was a better teammate, because I feel like Cam Newton was a really good teammate and he was very well liked in the locker room, and I don't think that had anything to do with him being released. I really think when it comes down to it is Belichick realized he needed to start Mac Jones, whether it was because he really wants to or some kind of pressure coming down the food chain a little bit. But I don't think he wanted to just have Cam Newton sitting there being his backup. It just doesn't make sense, especially for Cam Newton, who is determined to be a starter somewhere. Now, unfortunately, because of the way Bill Belichick did this and handled this, and he made it seem like Cam Newton was going to be the starter through all preseason. I don't think there were many people, with the exception of like maybe 2 or 3 names, that were planning on were expecting Mac Jones to be the starter. Everyone seemed to be on board that Cam Newton, whether you like it or not, was going to be the starter. And because of that, now most teams in the NFL have not only starters but backups pretty solid. I think the only teams that maybe have quarterback questions at this point is Houston, because of Deshaun Watson's legal troubles and his trade requests, and then the Cowboys, because I have absolutely zero idea if Dak Prescott is healthy or not, and I don't think anyone knows if Dak Prescott is healthy or not. So I don't know. I kind of feel like Bill did Cam a little bit dirty, because he made it seem outwardly appear that Cam was going to be the starter for the Patriots, so no one was going to sit there and say, oh, let's wait to see if the Patriots release Cam Newton, because no one was expecting it.
Well, I'm not saying that you said this, but Bill doesn't care what players think. He doesn't care about players' feelings.
True.
He cares about the New England Patriots. He cares about what type of team he's putting on the football field. Now, realistically, I don't think Cam Newton was going to accept a backup job.
Right.
Whereas you have Brian Hoyer saying, okay, you can go ahead and take my paycheck, put me on the practice squad, and we'll go from there. Cam Newton, I tweeted this out on my Twitter page, the picture of...
As opposed to tweeting it out on your Instagram?
I mean, maybe it goes on Snapchat, Bookface.
Okay, you know what? Never mind. Let's just keep going.
Okay. Anyway, so I put this on my Twitter page, the picture of Mac Jones walking by Cam with his hand in the air.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a little more behind that. Maybe it appears that Cam Newton wasn't going to be that teammate that helped out Mac Jones. He wasn't going to be that guy that gave him tips and everything. And to me, I think that maybe played into Bill's decision a little bit.
You really think that Bill cut Cam Newton because Mac Jones didn't see Cam Newton when he wanted to high-five him?
No, I'm saying, looking back, that photo could have something. But overall, I don't think Cam Newton would have been a happy backup.
Right.
I think it would have been one of those situations where it's a disgruntled veteran.
Yeah.
He's going to look okay on the field or on the sidelines, saying all the right things. But in the locker room, that's going to be a headache situation. And to me, I think this came down to what the other leaders on the team thought. Surprising to me, the Patriots just cut one of their captains in Cam Newton.
Right. And, I feel like that was always strange to me that Cam Newton was made a captain after being signed on the team for 3 or 4 months at that point, and they hadn't had any real practices and there was no preseason, and all of a sudden Cam Newton was a captain. I always thought that was a little bit of a let's get this guy's confidence boosted as he's going back to play for the first time in a while because of so many injuries. So I'm not if you told me if you started the this conversation been like, oh, the Patriots cut one of their captains, I'd start freaking out that they'd cut Matthew Slater, to be honest. Like, that would be my number one thought. Or, Devin McCourty. And so I'm not like, I never thought of Cam Newton as an actual captain for this team. And I'm sure, and like I said, I honestly think that Cam Newton was pretty well liked in the locker room. And, but I think at the end of the day, like, Cam Newton just wasn't the quarterback that the Patriots wanted. And regardless of what you have to say, like, oh, the NFL is going in the direction of a more mobile quarterback. Fine, but a mobile quarterback that hasn't been super injured would be more preferable to a mobile quarterback that is not really a mobile quarterback anymore.
He has a knee brace, Mac Jones does, that has been hindering his running ability.
I'm not really worried about. I never was like, not that I'm not worried about the knee, because if that's an issue, obviously I'm worried about it. But like, I never sat down and was like, oh, Mac Jones is not going to be able to run. It's like a Brady-esque quarterback. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I don't think he's Tom Brady. I don't think he's going to be Tom Brady.
He has the body type initially out of the draft.
Right. But what I mean by a Brady-like quarterback is a guy that's going to stick in the pocket and throw the ball. Like, that's what he's going to do. He's not going to try to run very often. It might happen if the pocket breaks down a little bit, but he's not going to run very often.
I think overall, this comes down to that all-famous Brady-Belichick scoreboard. Brady has won. He has a Super Bowl. I mean, he obviously appeared in a Super Bowl, but what did Bill Belichick do without Tom Brady? He went 7-9 with Cam Newton.
Right.
At this point, Bill's playing with fire here, because if you go ahead and go into another season with Cam Newton and potentially go, maybe 0-4, 1-3 with Cam Newton as a starter, then you're already going to be behind the 8 ball. Brady's going to have a second leg up on you.
Right.
And that's not going to work out well. At this point, I brought this up a few weeks ago, Bill Belichick is basically playing with house money now.
Right.
Because with Mac Jones as the starter, if he goes out there and makes those rookie mistakes, he can go ahead and cover up and say,
he's a rookie.
I'm playing the rookie quarterback like a lot of people wanted.
Yeah.
Not that Cam Newton would have been a better choice, but I think overall, let's see what Mac Jones has, especially with these new acquisitions.
Right.
This is going to be a tight end heavy offense, obviously, plus James White.
Yeah, and I also think, like, I said this when I first read the news that Cam got cut. I would rather go 8-9 with Mac Jones than 8-9 with Cam Newton, because at least we know that Belichick is actually building something for the future and not just kind of planning on sticking it to the Patriots before he retires. And honestly, you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait until Brady and Belichick are both retired. Because we have to have the conversation one more time. Oh, Brady and Belichick hate each other. Oh, the scoreboard. Oh, this. Oh, like, I'm so sick of that conversation. I don't want to hear the two of them's names in the same sentence ever again. I'm sick of it.
Oh, I can't wait.
And the worst thing is, like, leading up to week 4, how much you want to bet that, like, every sports show in the country, not even just in Boston, is going to be like, oh, are Tom Brady and Bill Belichick going to speak to each other when Tom Brady gets to Foxborough for week 4? Because Tom Brady's going to do that thing where he goes out like 4 hours before the game and he just walks the field, because he does it every single game. And, regardless of how his time ended in Foxborough, I really think that Foxborough still means a lot to Tom Brady. So he's going to want to go and kind of take in that energy. And I think there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to want to try to get into the stadium early. And every single person with a cell phone is going to be filming that so they can see if Bill Belichick goes out to say hi to Tom Brady. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm so not ready for it.
I can't wait for week 4.
Oh, my God. I'm dreading it. Because, like,
I say we take the show on the road. We'll be at Gillette Stadium. How's that?
Honestly, that would be great. But, like, yeah, because, like, you would have to pay, like, it's got to be like $1,500 for a ticket to that game at this point.
Oh, let's check it out.
Oh, my God. It's just, I'm so sick of the Brady versus Belichick thing. Like, Brady's gone. He's been gone for a year, won a Super Bowl with another team. And don't get me wrong, I love Tom Brady. And if I'm not rooting for the Patriots, I'm rooting for the Bucs because I like Tom Brady. But, like, I'm just so sick of the narrative behind it. It's too much.
All right, so I just pulled up a third-party ticket app.
Okay.
If you want to tailgate in the parking lot, that is $295.
It's a tailgate.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. It's usually like $40, I think.
Let's see. Section 338, row 23.
So, literally the highest point in Gillette Stadium. Got it.
Yep. $540.
That's crazy. But if anyone is feeling generous and wants to send me and John to that game,
oh yeah, I'm sure I have our 8 listeners here.
tweet us and I'll send you my Venmo.
Yeah, tweet us on our Twitter.
Oh God.
But I do have some reactions from a couple of the players on Mac Jones getting the starting job, and starting off with Trent Brown saying, "I think he can be special to be so young. I think he makes throws that not a lot of young guys can make."
Fair.
Matthew Slater, who you talked about earlier, saying, "I think he's a great young man. Character really counts when you talk about what we do off the football field, the way we carry ourselves, the way he commands respect of even guys like myself, older guys that have been here for a while. He's earned that respect by the way that he's gone about his craft."
That's good.
To get that type of backup from someone like Matthew Slater, who obviously is a captain and needs to say the right thing, but still, it sounds like a lot of the teammates are behind Mac Jones, and I think that could work out very well for week 1 against Miami.
Right, because, as much as it was talked about a lot going into this offseason, like after they drafted Mac Jones, like, oh, is it going to split the locker room? Because obviously the team, they really like Cam, the players really like Cam, and it became pretty clear quickly that Mac Jones wasn't exactly hated in the locker room. He had a good personality, and people liked him, and what have you. So it was a lot of, oh, is it going to split the locker room? And I think the thing with the Patriots locker room, especially with these the guys who've been on the team for a while, like Slater, like McCourty, like James White, they might really love Cam Newton. That's fine. Cam Newton seems like a nice guy. I think, but the issue is these guys are part of this locker room that winning has always come first. And I think that they realized that they had a better chance of winning and moving forward as an organization with Mac Jones starting and not Cam Newton.
So there was an underlying storyline when Newton did get cut.
Yeah.
And that is his vaccination status. Now,
Right.
Bill Belichick didn't really disclose anybody's vaccination status, but one can assume, putting the puzzle pieces together, Cam Newton wasn't vaccinated.
Yeah.
We know he's tested positive in the past last season, or a few days before the Kansas City game. So on September 1st, a reporter asked Belichick, did Cam's vaccination status have anything to do with him being released? And Belichick said this. I'll take out all the snorting and the awkward pauses.
Yeah.
No, you guys keep talking about that, and I would just point out that I don't know what the number is. I mean, you guys can look it up. You have the access to a lot of information, but the number of players and coaches and staff members that have been infected by COVID in this training camp around the NFL who have been vaccinated is a pretty high number, so I wouldn't lose sight of that. Follow-up question was, why was releasing Cam in the best interest of the team? Belichick saying that's our decision, and we've had weeks of meetings on all players, so it would be impossible to rehash everything that happened at that position or any other position. But ultimately, there's a lot of factors that are involved, and we made our decisions.
Right. It's a very Belichickian answer.
I'm taking the last few words from that and saying I think the COVID vaccination status actually did play a factor without actually saying that it did, because we saw what happened with Urban Meyer. He's probably going to get fined for saying that, what he did.
Right. So, I think with Bill Belichick, it's one of the, we've been talking about this for years. The way that they evaluate guys is like something that someone from MIT couldn't even figure out. Like the colors and the numbers and the letters that they give these people when they're talking about whether they're making the roster, no one understands it.
Ernie Adams.
Right,
that's
exactly.
Where it is.
And you don't Ernie Adams may have retired, but that stuff's not going to stop. Belichick is still doing that kind of stuff. So, and they're never going to explain to anybody what it means. So I'm sure that they added a color. I don't know what color it would be, that is about the vaccination status. Because I think at the end of the day, it does come up. But the problem is Bill Belichick can't say that because I'm sure there are other guys on his 53-man roster that isn't vaccinated.
Sure.
And the problem is, and a lot of people I think brought this up, is if he was the starter, it would have been one thing. Because you have Mac Jones behind him, right? Who, from all appearances, I think is vaccinated, just simply because he doesn't have to wear a mask on the sideline, and the rules are if you're not vaccinated, you do have to wear a mask on the sideline. And the NFL is taking that pretty seriously, and they're definitely finding athletes who were not vaccinated that are not wearing masks. I think the problem is why are you paying Cam Newton to be a backup if he could just go off to a quote-unquote medical appointment and be exposed to COVID, and then you're like, well, now we don't have a backup. So, like I said, like it's one thing if he was a starter because he's a backup and we have a kid playing, basically. We need somebody that we can rely on to be a backup at this point. And I don't think they could rely on Cam Newton to be a backup for many reasons. So I do think it has something to do with the decision ultimately.
Yeah, because I don't have the guideline in front of me, but I think if you're unvaccinated and you test positive or are a close contact, you're going to miss a certain number of days.
I think it's 5 or something like that, unless you test positive yourself.
Right. So most likely, if Cam were to be a close contact, you're probably looking at him missing a game.
Right.
And if this were the NBA, NHL, MLB with 80 or 160 games, that would be one thing. But this is the NFL where there's only 17 games in a season now.
Especially when you consider the fact that after Cam Newton was signed to the Patriots originally, he never moved his family up here. He has like 5 kids or something like that. So obviously he's missing a lot of his children's lives. And, I'm sure that they have lives and schools and stuff that they are where I don't know where his family's based out of, but that he doesn't want to take them away from. So why would Cam Newton stay in New England and just to be a backup when he's not being able to see his family, and the team's going to get on him for traveling to see his family because he's unvaccinated and could have contact with somebody who has COVID?
I feel like one possible avenue this could go down is Belichick was trying to do Newton a solid.
Right.
Trying to say, okay, just go to Atlanta. We'll say, you did something for a medical need and all that.
Right.
And unfortunately, the NFL guidelines just kind of blew up in Bill and Cam's face.
Yeah.
They were hoping this would be kind of brushed under the rug. Unfortunately, not. Mac Jones got maybe the most important practice time of the entire preseason. Right before the 3rd preseason game and a joint practice. Mm-hmm. To me, if Cam Newton was still there the full week of the joint practices, I think maybe he'd have a puncher's chance at being the starter. But I mean, when you're not able to be on the field and you have a rookie on the field taking those important snaps, I don't care if you're Cam Newton, Mac Jones, or quarterback fill in the blank.
Right.
I'm still going to go with a guy that shows up to work, can be there to compete.
And that's been Belichick's motto forever. And I think, it would have been one thing also if it was like a Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer that was getting these reps, because you know what those guys are at this point. Like, it's never going to work out for them as a starter, especially Hoyer. Hoyer's been a career backup, which there's nothing wrong with that because he's making a shit ton of money just to hold the clipboard. Let's be honest.
That's a dream job, or a backup kicker.
Right, exactly. So, but it's the quarterback that they know is going to lead them into the future, that they drafted in the first round with a high draft pick. Cam Newton kind of dug his own grave with this one. Like I said, like if it was a Stidham or a Hoyer, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But you don't let the number one, their first round pick, have way more reps than you do the 2 weeks before the season starts and think that you're still going to be the starter.
And it sounds like he was kind of understanding in his Instagram weird font message that he wrote. It sounded like he was accepting of what happened. He understood what he did and what the ramifications were.
How long do you think it takes him to type like that?
I would imagine. I mean, if you're a player with millions of dollars, I would think maybe you can pay someone to make the font.
Can you imagine being like, no, I don't think it's a font.
There's
just
some
like
weird characters.
No, I know, because it's like if you go on your phone and you hold down, open a text message on your phone right now.
Okay.
And go to the keyboard and hold down the E.
Huh.
So it's those things, like those extra letters that are letters with different accents and stuff that you would need for other words in other languages. That's what he's doing. He's going through and holding those letters to see what pops up and just typing in the ones that he likes the best.
Oh, well, now I'm going to have fun with this after the show.
Oh, great. Now John's going to start posting his tweets on Twitter with the Cam Newton thing.
I learned how to tweet on Twitter today.
Oh, boy.
It is worth noting that the NFL recently proposed a vaccine mandate, but the NFLPA did decline that.
Right.
And I was reading up in The Athletic before I hit the stupid paywall that according to NFL Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alan Stills, who has really been behind this COVID effort and the research and all that, 93% of NFL players are vaccinated, and more than 99% of coaches and staffs are vaccinated.
Right.
And there's a 0.3 incidence rate of vaccinated players.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you had to guess what head coach is not vaccinated, who do you think it is?
Well, just from all the training camp stuff, Belichick is for sure.
Right.
I mean, half the coaches I don't even really
right.
know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like some random. Oh, Vrabel. Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know because Brady let his kid around Vrabel when they do their joint practices.
Well, he also tested positive too. Mike Vrabel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, you can test positive if you have the vaccine.
Yep. We have learned that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
When we get to the Red Sox.
Right.
But if you followed us, if you follow us on Twitter, getting choked up talking about Cam Newton today.
Oh no! I thought you'd get choked up talking about Taco Fall for sure.
We're not talking about Taco Fall today.
Right. That's right. You're avoiding the sad news.
I am. Our poor player that comes in 40-point games. Anyways, we put a Twitter poll out right after the news came out that Newton was released, asking people that today's news of Cam Newton's release by the Patriots was, and we gave you three choices, either shocking, a bit of a surprise, or expected. Bit of a surprise came in at 42.9%, shocking came in at 35.7%, and expected came in at 21.4%. Now, granted, we didn't exactly have, like a political race type of turnout here for this poll, but I was kind of surprised expected didn't get a higher response.
I feel like most of the people that voted expected probably didn't actually expect it, but just want to tell their friends that they saw it coming the whole time.
Yeah. I went with a bit of a surprise with my vote.
Right, same, because I was surprised. I really was. And I think I was more surprised that they cut him than the fact that Mac Jones was a starter, because I really thought that they would at least attempt making him the backup. But clearly, Belichick didn't want to even deal with that drama, which is fair. I mean, the man's in his 70s at this point. He doesn't want to deal with drama anymore.
Well, I had a couple of people asking me what I thought about Cam Newton getting released. And this whole time since Mac Jones got drafted, I was thinking that he was going to be a backup up until week 5 when the Brady game ended.
Right.
Because he could go under that blanket of Newton basically taking the hits and the bumps for the Patriots until Big Bag Brady is out of Foxborough.
Right, yeah.
Then he would take over. I'm not surprised that Cam Newton got released, obviously.
Right.
It was just when it happened because, A, it's after the third preseason game when you didn't have Mac Jones with any of the ones, which we talked about.
Right.
And B, I mean, now you're going in with basically a brand new quarterback room because now your quarterback core, if you will, is Mac Jones, Malcolm Perry, who the Patriots picked up from Miami off the waiver wire, I believe, and then Garrett Gilbert from Dallas. They have Brian Hoyer on the practice squad.
Yeah, I also think it's strange because, I mean, obviously Bill Belichick has never been someone who's been forthright with the media, but he literally came Sunday night. They asked him if he'd pick a starter yet, and Bill had been like, "Oh no, we're still ways away from that decision." And then on Tuesday morning, they cut Cam Newton. That's not what happened Monday. That's my question. Did they tell Cam on Monday? Do you think?
I have a feeling that goes back to my initial point. They asked Cam to be the backup, and Cam basically said, "Go F yourself." That's not
fair.
happening.
Yeah. So you think that after the Giants preseason game, Belichick knew that that Mac was going to be a starter. Went to Cam on Monday and was like, "Look, this is what we're going to do." And Cam said he didn't want to do that, so they released him on Tuesday. I mean, that makes sense. I think and I think it's a better look if the Patriots released Cam if Cam was in on it. You know what I mean? Because not that they owe Cam Newton much,
They gave him a job when literally nobody in the world would.
Right. And I think, and I honestly, as terrible as last year was, and obviously Cam Newton was not playing the Cam Newton of old, but, he came in here and kind of, took a lot being the Patriots quarterback last year because it's the first year after Brady. And now Mac Jones can come in here and, you even hear it. in the media, and you've heard it for all the preseason, no one's looking at Mac Jones and being like, well, he's not as good as Brady. Everyone's looking at him being like, wow, he's better than Cam. So now Mac Jones doesn't have to have that pressure of being the guy that's after Brady because Cam Newton came in and took that fall before Mac Jones got there.
And my question now is, where does Cam Newton go? Because he didn't want to be a backup in New England. Right. As you said earlier, there's no real starting jobs.
Yeah.
Eric Edholm writes for Yahoo Sports, and he gave some suggestions. And you talked about one of them being Dallas, who has Dak Prescott, who we don't know as far as his injury status.
Is Dak Prescott your fantasy quarterback this year?
No. One league I have Brady and Burrow.
Oh, right.
Then the other one with 8 people in the league, I have a quarterback room of Mahomes, Rodgers, and Russell Wilson.
Someone in our league has Dak Prescott starting, and that's going to be a bad thing for them.
All right, well, I'll take a look as you give your explanation here. But here's a list of some of the other teams. I mentioned Dallas. Atlanta, who has a QB depth chart of Matt Ryan, who's missed 1 start since being drafted.
Right.
Felipe Franks from the University of Florida, and Josh Rosen.
Oh, I forgot about Josh Rosen.
Yeah, he was going to be the Patriots' savior, I think, for a short time.
Right.
Denver, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. Houston, Deshaun Watson for now, and David Mills. And then Miami, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jacoby Brissett.
Right.
Out of all those teams, is there a team that you look at and say, maybe Cam would work on this team as a backup of some sort? Or is there maybe a surprise team that you're looking at and saying, you know what, Newton should probably go there if he wants to still have a quarterback career?
I feel like if the vaccination thing wasn't an issue, Washington would have been the biggest contender for me, because Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter there for now. And you know how it works with Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's either really good or really bad. I mean, he's been really good in the last couple of seasons, but I don't know what's going on with him this year, but Ron Rivera is a coach there, and you would think, well, Cam Newton was the guy that he drafted when he was a coach of Carolina, and he really liked Cam Newton, got him and Cam Newton went to a Super Bowl together. The problem is Ron Rivera has been one of the most outspoken coaches about the importance of getting the vaccine, because this man had cancer last year and was getting treatments on the sideline. So that's kind of the only thing I think that would be stopping Cam Newton from going to Washington. Other than that, I mean, maybe Houston, like I said, and maybe Dallas, but maybe New Orleans? Because I don't know how, the Taysom Hill experiment is clearly over. I mean, if he wasn't going to start now, he's not going to start ever. God knows what happens with Jameis Winston. So maybe, I guess New Orleans could be a place where he could land and maybe be a backup for now, but potentially come in as a starter at some point.
I might have a team X that not a lot of people are looking at.
And what's that?
The Baltimore Ravens. They lost out on RG3.
Right.
He's retired. Lamar Jackson, his backup is Tyler Huntley. But also, don't forget, they did lose their starting running back with a season-ending ACL injury.
You would know.
I would. He was on my team. Team MASH all the way. But also the tight end situation, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle is going to be a question mark at the start of the season.
I think Marquise Brown was injured, too, at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions on the Ravens where Cam Newton could make a difference. The only issue, and it's going to keep going back to this issue, can he play for a team and take a step back?
Right.
Unfortunately, the name of Cam Newton doesn't carry the weight it used to in his MVP year where he went 15-1 or whatever that record was.
Right.
He's, you hate saying this about any player, but right now he's damaged goods, I think, when you talk about just the talent on the field. And you can say the Patriots didn't give him the best talent or the best backup, but still, Cam Newton has taken a step back.
Yeah.
Can he continue playing football taking a step back? And that's the big question he has to ask himself. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, I'm calling the Baltimore Ravens right now and asking, hey, do you guys want to have me play in Baltimore?
Right. Baltimore is such a weird place, because John Harbaugh is on that list of people I would think that might not have the vaccine. And also, I think him, like his brother, is going to keep going to big games and keep losing the big games. So
he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but what has he done for us recently?
Well, he hasn't done anything for us. We're Patriots fans.
Well, you know what I mean. What has he done for Ravens fans recently?
Beat the Patriots at Gillette Stadium last year.
With Cam Newton.
Yeah, that's what he did recently. I told you.
Forget it.
Go tweet on Twitter.
I really just wanted to make fun of his brother, and was trying to jump to that, but whatever.
I'm sorry. So we'll talk a little more about this next week with a football preview, but what are the...
I'm so excited for football season. Woo! So excited for football season.
What are your early expectations for Mac Jones? Because now it looks like he is a top starter for the Patriots.
Yeah.
He's going to now have a full week of regular practice. Mm-hmm. What are your expectations here?
I think it's going to be interesting, and my expectations, I think, are currently I'm not going to say low, but they're not super high either. And it's not even really Mac's not even the reason why I have kind of medium expectations right now, because I'm still not entirely sure if the Patriots have figured out like who he's throwing to, because both Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith have been injured. Nelson Aguilar has done practically nothing. And I can't even tell you how many snaps he played during the preseason, but it seems like it was only like 3 or 4. Jacoby Myers is like the only receiver at this point that I'd be like, oh, no, I'm not worried about. So I'm not really entirely sure what to expect, because I don't know how much the Patriots have genuinely improved in their offense from last year besides the quarterback position.
Oh, yeah, you have the tight end position, which, as I mentioned, that's going to be where this offense is predicated on.
But my issue is, how are these two tight ends that they spend a bunch of money on going to play after coming back from injuries right away?
Yeah, and that's a big question, which means probably James White is going to be your big receiving target, I would think, just the way the Patriots offense has been made for years. And I'm guessing they're going to dumb down the playbook relatively for Mac Jones. I'm not saying go ahead and...
Well, they had to last year for Cam, so I'm pretty sure Mac is probably going to get the same playbook Cam did last year.
Yeah, I'm not saying, just put pass left, pass right, run to the right.
Yeah.
But I think this is a very important week for the relationship with Josh McDaniels and Mac Jones.
For sure.
We saw them at MetLife Stadium talking a lot on the bench. So now is a time when Jones needs to tell McDaniels what he's comfortable with running. And it's time for McDaniels to kind of maybe spice up the playbook a little bit. The playbook last year, and there's multiple reasons why it happened, but the playbook last year was just so vanilla. So bland, so boring.
Yeah.
It's time to maybe add some wrinkles in there, and I think if you can go ahead and utilize the combination of Smith, Henry, and James White, and even J.J. Taylor, I think would be a sneaky name to look at.
And I also feel like this relationship between Josh McDaniels and Mac Jones is going to be huge for the future of this football team, because we all know that Belichick's not going to be around forever. And for years now, it's looked like Josh McDaniels is going to be the heir apparent. Now, other names have been thrown in there, whether it's going to be one of Belichick's sons or... there's been names. But Josh McDaniels has been kind of the only front-runner candidate forever. And I think that a lot of Belichick drafting Mac Jones in the first place and starting Mac Jones now, I think has a lot to do with Josh McDaniels being like, look, we need to move on. We need to go forward. We need to start building this team up. We can't just keep doing patchwork by putting together a bunch of older players that are good. They're, it's like the same as the Red Sox model. It's like you got to start building up your young kids. And obviously the Patriots, I think, are doing a better job of it than the Red Sox are. But I think that's what Josh McDaniels is doing. Is like, look, if you're going to ditch this team with me in 2 years, I want a quarterback. I really feel like Josh McDaniels has a lot to do with all of this.
So just very quickly here, and then we'll go on to other stuff.
Yeah.
How much say do you think Josh McDaniels had with releasing Cam Newton?
I would say a decent amount.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, Bill Belichick is one of those guys that, because he's the head coach and he's the GM, he's making a lot of these decisions himself. But I think that he has, a core group of guys that he trusts. And Josh McDaniels, I think, is clearly one of those guys, because Josh McDaniels left to coach, and then he almost left again to coach by himself, and he just keeps coming back. So clearly there's something there about Josh McDaniels that Bill Belichick respects above a lot of other people. So yeah, I think Josh McDaniels had a lot to do with the decision behind what happened to Cam.
And I'll keep saying, I go back to that Davio's dinner before McDaniels told the Colts to go screw.
Yeah.
I think there's only 3 people that know when Belichick's leaving. Bill, Bob Kraft, and Josh McDaniels.
For sure, yeah.
I think it's one of those, like, safety vault boxes in the bank.
I would wager neither of his sons know.
I would... If I was Bill Belichick, I wouldn't tell anybody.
Right.
I wouldn't even tell Nike the dog because he might bark how many years are left. But
you might tweet it on Twitter.
I tried.
I know.
I'm trying here.
Know.
When we start this, you said this marks the 1 year mark of this marks the 1 year anniversary. I can't talk today. Of this.
That's
podcast.
Great for a podcast.
Yeah. This marks the 1 year anniversary of our podcast starting, and we're in the 10th year of Out of Bounds, and I think I've grown. On social media.
In 10 years, yes, you've grown.
I have grown up. I have a Facebook. I have a Twitter.
Yeah. Now we just got to get you on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
Or TikTok. I've been trying to get you on TikTok forever.
Well, I asked if you want to do the milk crate challenge. You said no.
I'm not stupid.
Well, speaking of stupid, let's go to the Boston Red Sox now.
That's a good transition.
Hey, I try.
I know.
Obviously, their time in Tampa Bay, when we're recording this, hasn't exactly gone very swimmingly. They have lost 2 of the first 3 games of the series. But everybody is going back to when Xander Bogaerts got lifted.
Yeah.
And it's not because of his play on the field or his hitting.
Nope.
Oh, no. It's because he tested positive and he still played in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the Red Sox fault. It's just the testing the way it came in.
I don't know why they do testing the way they do it, because, this is not the first time in any of the Major League Baseball teams that they've had to lift people during the game. It's like, wouldn't you time the tests so that they'd come in before the game started?
Well, the bigger story besides Bogaerts is what is happening with the Boston Red Sox right now.
They're just licking each other, apparently, because every single person and their mother have tested positive with COVID.
I don't know what they're licking each other, but anyways, I think they're probably one of the lower vaccinated teams in baseball. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Yeah.
But think about some of the names that are not playing right now in a wild card chase to at least get into a wild card game, because the AL East is long gone.
Right.
Mentioned Xander Bogaerts, Martin Perez, Matt Barnes, Ramon Vasquez, Kike Hernandez, Josh Taylor. Then you have
Christian
coaches
Arroyo.
like Tom Goodwin. Yep, Christian Arroyo, Sawamura. Him. And there's a couple other coaches here, the strength and conditioning coach, but still.
Their first base coach again.
Yeah.
For the second time in 2 months.
This is a problem.
Oh, it's a huge problem.
I don't think this is one of those things where, personally speaking, I don't think the Red Sox should be postponing games or Major League Baseball should be postponing games.
Right.
Because this happened with the Yankees
right
out of the All-Star break, and nobody really complained about that,
right.
I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, especially because the Red Sox were playing the Yankees, so the Red Sox fans were like, oh, now we get to play the Yankees when they're down, and they still lost a bunch of games to the Yankees anyways. So, it sucks. It really sucks. And they were doing poorly going into this, and I think that's another big difference between them and the Yankees, is the Yankees were doing well going into it and were able to kind of keep the ship afloat while they were dealing with all of this, whereas the Red Sox were losing there was a hole in the ship as it was, and now the hole is just bigger.
So I do have the full list here. It's Hirokazu Sawamura, Martin Perez, Xander Bogaerts, Matt Barnes, and Kike Hernandez, Christian Arroyo, and Yairo Munoz. I said Josh Taylor, and then the coaches and everybody else there.
Yeah.
But, this could really be a problem for Major League Baseball, because now you're getting into the the relatively colder months for postseason. And if you have a situation like this where you have another Justin Turner situation, can baseball really take another hit like that?
I don't know.
PR-wise.
I know. It's weird. I just, they've kind of... It feels like they've been sweeping it under the rug because no one really talks about it. Even now we really just know about it because we're Red Sox fans. I feel like there are probably other fans in the MLB that aren't necessarily aware of what's going on with the Red Sox or weren't necessarily aware of what happened with the Yankees. And I think it's happened to other teams. So I think that the MLB is just kind of sweeping all of this under the rug and being like, using Flex Seal to hide the holes, and it's not going to work completely anyways, and you start
I sawed this boat in half.
Right. The MLB is currently sawed in half, and the Flex Seal is not holding. So that's good.
Yeah, that's what you want to hear.
Yeah, right before the playoffs. It's going to be fantastic. We'll see what happens. When they're going to have to... I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't, to be honest with you.
Well, when you look at the list of reasons of why the Red Sox have had such a nightmare of August, I look back at how this month started. 2-7 the Red Sox started off, and then they've lost 2 of the first 3 against Tampa Bay Rays. They lost the last game against the Cleveland Indians on the 29th, thanks to Yaro Munoz having no idea where in the world he was getting involved in base runner's path. But
you're not a Worcester anymore, kid.
Overall, this has just been one laugh fest after another.
Right. Yeah.
Like I watched that Cleveland Indians Red Sox game, and when Yaro Munoz got involved, I wasn't angry. I wasn't frustrated. I just laughed my ass off.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny. Like
That's like angels in the outfield.
You know who I actually feel bad for?
Alex Cora?
No. Well, yeah, kind of. But who I feel bad for the most? Kyle Schwarber. Because that man thought he was getting traded to a contender and has been the only one doing anything. He's been walked 15 times in 15 games because no one knows how to pitch to him, apparently.
He went to first base.
I mean, he's always on base, and that's what they needed. They needed someone who was going to get on base because they were having issues with that going into the trade deadline. So I feel bad for Kyle Schwarber.
You feel bad for
Hopefully he's not very close to the rest of the team yet because he'll get COVID if he is.
Okay. All right. The player I feel really bad for, Chris Sale.
Also true, yeah.
I just spent the past 18-ish months recovering from Tommy John surgery, and this is the crap I have to come back to. I said at some point this Red Sox team might pull the Milwaukee Brewers and have, with CC Sabathia, and have Chris Sale pitch on 3 days rest, come out of the bullpen, basically stand on his head just to get into a wild card situation.
Right.
Because this team was so hot in July. We had them penciled, well, many people had them penciled in to take on the Giants or the Dodgers in the World Series.
Right.
This bullpen is burnt out. The starters aren't that good.
No. And
these role players that are pushing each other around in the old laundry cart, guess what? That bit's kind of getting old because now you have teams buckling up, getting ready for what September is going to bring. And, you can have Kevin Plawecki pushing players around in carts, but at some point, you need to have the offensive production.
Right.
And the COVID situation is tough, yes, but unfortunately, this is something that a lot of teams are going through.
Right, yeah.
I think it was the Philadelphia Phillies and Nationals series in July, maybe. That might have been that might have had games canceled.
Yeah.
But again, we saw it with the Yankees. We're seeing it with the Red Sox.
Right.
MLB doesn't care right now what the COVID situation is.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to run into the same issues with NFL, MLB, and NBA.
Right.
It's, there's vaccinations out there and people can feel however they want.
Yeah.
Sports is still going to go on. Sports took almost, 3-4 months off.
Yeah.
And they financially almost got crippled.
Right.
They're not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And teams and players are completely out of their mind if they think that anybody is going to stop. Because let's pick some of the high caliber players in each sport here. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Again, we don't want any of these players to be sick with COVID or, close contacts. We don't want that. But I'm just using this kind of as a hypothetical. But if they were in a protocol, maybe the NBA would think about calling games off.
Right.
But let's say, again, not hoping anything happens, but Tremont Waters or, a Brad Wanamaker or a lower bench guy, if they go into protocols,
no one's going to care.
No one's going to really pay attention.
Well, yeah, but that's the NBA, and look at the MLB. Your whole point was it's happening with the Red Sox and the Yankees. What two teams did the MLB make more money off of than the Red Sox and Yankees?
But right now they have other teams that are taking the load off their shoulders relatively.
Yeah.
You know, you have the Padres, you have the Giants, you have the Dodgers. There are other teams now that can take over that financial burden.
Yeah.
Now that you're in the age of social media with Tatis Jr. and Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
You have players that can take that burden off the Red Sox and Yankees that they had on them since, the 50s, 60s, 70s, when they were the only real name in town.
Yeah.
All right. We talked about COVID. We talked about sports. We're going to talk about sports still.
Yeah.
Because we're bringing back the NFL picks.
Woohoo.
Only one game to talk about. That's next Thursday night. The opener, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Right. I think Tampa Bay is going to win. The reason why I think Tampa Bay is going to win is because, one, I don't know if Dak Prescott's going to play. I'm still not entirely sold on the Cowboys' defense, even though I know that they have made improvements. Tampa Bay has basically their full offense back from the Super Bowl. It's a home game for them. They're going to raise their banner.
I think the defense, too.
Right, and the defense. Like, it's basically the same team for the most part. It's Tom Brady. So usually bet in his favor. Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned the injury situation with Dak Prescott, but also he doesn't have the wide receiver talent or wide receiver targets that Tom Brady does. I think if you go ahead and line up the two depth charts, I would be more in favor and more inclined of what the Buccaneers have.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like Cooper and CD Lamb, like, they're going to be good. But I don't know what that offense is going to look like. Because, again, like, I think it's going to come down a lot to what Dak's doing. And I think after what happened to him last year, he might be a little hesitant to be running the ball himself. And obviously he's got Zeke, so and he's always going to be good. But, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with Dak's performance. And I'm going to, wait a couple weeks before I start betting on the Cowboys. Unlike Cowboys fans who would probably think that they're winning the Super Bowl this year.
I think this is going to be a big starting point in the season for anybody that has Ezekiel Elliott on his fantasy football team. Because to me, I think he's going to be the offense.
Right.
And all those carries, the short yard pickups.
Yeah.
That's going to be basically what the Cowboys are, I think. All right, let's talk about a little segment we started a couple weeks ago called Anything Goes.
Yeah.
It's a segment, not the play. Don't want to have copyright issues because I know Broadway's listening to us.
Right, obviously.
But the way this goes is we have a couple questions, each of us for the other person. We have no idea what the questions are. It can do with sports. It can do with news, relatively light news. But we have no idea what's about to be asked.
Damn, I was going to ask you who you voted for.
Obviously, I voted for macaroni and cheese ice cream. Come on.
Right. Ew, what? Disgusting.
It looks good.
Oh, God, I'm going to throw up real quick. That's gross.
All right. So are you starting or I'll start?
I'll start.
All right.
So it's the beginning of September. And this is going to be, I was thinking about, it's back to school season and all that. What was your favorite grade growing up?
Well, I mean, senior year of high school was good, but that was just because I wanted to get out.
Right.
I mean, I think the elementary school years were good because I told you my stories in middle school.
Right, yeah.
I was basically a walking injury for other kids.
We've ruled out middle school for you.
Yep. I mean, first and second grade was kind of good.
Yeah.
I'll go with one of those, yeah. First and second grade.
I feel like mine was fourth grade. I really enjoyed fourth grade. Sixth grade was good, too. I was, like, super into school when I was growing up, and I had like a decent amount of friends, and they were jerks that teased me a bit, but you
have that here,
right. But I love school, and then I got to high school and started hating school, so definitely not high school for me. But yeah, probably like fourth or sixth grade. Those were both good years for me.
All right. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. School lunches, that was kind of where it was. We had Domino's when I was.
Oh,
when I was in school.
I was going to say, when I was like in elementary school, our school lunches were trash. High school is a little better.
Well, high school you have basically a la carte, I think, now. Like, do you want the meal of the day or do you want a sandwich?
Right, yeah. That's how my high school was, too.
All right, my first question is, as you mentioned, it's the start of September.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple weeks ago, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks started dishing out all these fall flavors.
Yeah.
Apple cider, refreshers, pumpkin spice lattes.
Right.
everything pumpkin, which I hate at this point. But let me ask you, as I think you may have a different view because
you're like, as a white
flavors.
female, do you like pumpkin spice? Is that what the question's going to be?
I didn't phrase it that way, but
Fair
I said, when is it okay to have fall flavored snacks and drinks?
I wish they waited until September, to be honest with you. And, it's the same thing with like, when's it okay for Christmas stuff to start happening? And I'm usually one of those as soon as Thanksgiving is over type of people. And I think, with the fall flavors, because fall is a large period of time because it's if you think, well, because like
the year's split up pretty well, I think.
What I'm saying is with the season, like the holiday-ish seasons, because like fall can go through Halloween and Thanksgiving, whereas so it's like fun. I don't care if they put Halloween candy in stores.
It's already
in
out.
August. Well, that's what I'm saying. But like the fall thing, it's like just wait till September. You have September, October, November. That'll be fine. And I feel like if they keep bringing it forward earlier, like no one's gonna care anymore. Not that I'm a big I like pumpkin muffins and stuff. I'm not super into pumpkin coffee. I'm one of those people that like gets the exact same coffee every single day, no matter what season it is. Like I got my iced latte, no matter what the temperature is, no matter what the weather is, like all year round. So I'm not a big pumpkin spice latte person.
Well, I'm a normal coffee drinker. I'll have a decent amount of coffee, but
yeah.
It's basically milk, sugar, call it a day, regular coffee.
Yeah.
I don't need any art projects because when I order my brother's coffee, I always ask him what he wants, and I have it on my phone now because I do it so much.
Right.
And I go, "Oh, you're getting a friggin' art project."
Wow, you're just putting your brother on blast on the podcast.
It's a latte with, whole milk and different flavors, ice and all that. No, coffee is coffee. That's it.
I like caramel in my coffee, but only 2 pumps, and then that's it. That's all I want in my coffee.
But I would say the start of October, especially now in the world we live in.
No, I'd say
the month of September is basically bonus summer. It's summer overtime.
I feel like it should be like with school starting. That's okay.
School starts in August now. School
some
starts
places.
in August. It's hot, humid, sunny, sticky. All the way until October.
You just
At that
can't
point,
wait to get the summer over with. That's the only problem.
October 1st, that's when it should happen.
Okay. Well,
all right.
I think September 1st, but to each their own, I guess.
Do you remember the 21st night of September?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Depends on what year, though, I guess. I don't think I remember September 21st, 1998 at all.
I would hope not. You were 2.
I was. That's why I said it.
I was 9.
Yeah.
Do
you remember it? No. My other question for you was, because we were talking a little bit about my traveling yesterday. If there was one place in the world you could travel to, where would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like in the entire world.
See, I would be inclined to say places like Australia, New Zealand.
Right.
But it's hot down there, basically.
Yeah, you would hate
year-round.
it.
Yeah.
For sure, you would hate it.
London, I wouldn't mind going to.
London's good.
Scotland would be pretty enjoyable, I think. And it's relatively cool there. But, the continent of North America, I could go to Seattle, Toronto.
That's where right, yeah. That's fair.
I think that would be
I've never been to Seattle or Toronto, but I have been to London and Scotland, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend you going there.
All right, so I guess I'll have to book my travel since I've never been outside of Delaware.
You can travel now. Do you own a passport?
No.
That might be that's where you should probably start.
I can go to Seattle.
You could go to Seattle.
Yeah.
Yep, you could go to Seattle.
Taking a Seattle Seahawks game.
Or a Kraken game.
Ooh, release the Kraken.
Or release a Kraken.
I can't wait to watch that.
I know.
My second question is, we kind of talked about a gift that I have to be kind of vague because I actually do know some people that do listen to the podcast that may actually get tipped off. But there's a gift that's getting made that is a little bit cheesy. I told you about this because I had to go to the post office and ship it off to a friend and all that.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what is the cheesiest gift you have ever received or given?
That's a good one. A couple years ago for Christmas, Brian got me a T-shirt that said "late," but the T was the MBTA logo with the map of the MBTA on it. That was pretty good. I still wear it, but it was pretty cheesy. Have I ever given a cheesy gift? I don't know if it's cheesy, but I did that. Like, I don't think the gift was cheesy, but I did like something cheesy with a gift. Like, I did that thing where you like wrap something in a million boxes, and I taped it up super bad for my brother a couple of Christmases ago. Like, I literally bought him concert tickets for Christmas, and I think he was like 14 at the time, so he was like beginning to be a miserable teenager at that point, and I didn't put because I was worried about how like upset he would get from the fact that the box was wrapped so much. I didn't actually even put the concert tickets in there. I just wrote him a note that said I bought him the concert tickets, and then put the note in a box with like tissue paper, and then like gaff taped it, and then in another box and gaff taped that, and another. Like, it just kept going. And the box under the tree was like the size of like I think it was like a microwave box or something was the largest one, and it was just for a piece of paper that had a note that said that he got concert tickets for Christmas.
I did that too for my brother. It was like a gift. It was like a gift card or something. But yeah. I think by the time I was done with it, it was probably the size of a small trash barrel.
Oh my God, that's excessive. That's so much work to go through.
I love doing that every year because I'll always do it to one family member,
and they just never know who it is.
Yep,
that's awesome.
It's it's almost like Russian roulette.
Yeah, exactly.
Just with wrapping paper.
Who's John going to screw over this year?
It's a holiday tradition unlike any other. And we thank you for listening to the Out of Bounds podcast. For Mary Evers, I'm John Luck.